I'm going to show you how to properly use acrylic paint. That is the paint we're going to be using the most in this class. The acrylic paint can be found in this yellow bin over by the sink. Before you get your paint, you need to make sure that your watercolor paper, that your drawing is done on your watercolor paper. I'm just going to demo how to use your brushes and use your paint, but it's very important in class that you get your drawing completely done before you pour paint, because you cannot put it back in the bottle and you might not even know what colors you need until your drawing is done. So get your drawing done. We're going to start this demo as if your drawing is done. The first thing you should do is put on your apron. If I can put this over my big head. I cannot force you to put your aprons on, but I'm telling you to put your apron on because acrylic paint is a synthetic paint and it dries into a plasticky substance that will probably not come out of your clothes. I'll just go ahead and say that it won't. So you got your apron on. You're also going to need a rag. Rags are located near the sink in this basket that says rags on it. If your rag is usable again, like there's just a little bit of paint on it, you can put it back in the basket. If you think it's really gross, I give you permission to throw it out. All right, so we got our rags. Get your brushes that are located over here. You also need a water cup. Here we go, we got our water cup. And you also need a palette. Palettes are located near the brushes. I recently spent an entire hour cleaning this. It took a really long time. Your palettes are not going to be this clean, but I wanted to have a nice clean palette so that I could properly demonstrate how to mix your colors. So there are a few things to remember when mixing your paint. First rule is don't take too much paint. There's lots of paint on this container, but as you can see, it says don't take too much paint. You're really not going to have to fill up this little dish for your painting. In fact, I wouldn't fill it up all the way anyway. I would do half of that. I'm going to get some red paint. I'm going to put a little bit on the palette so you can see how much you should get. Okay? A dollop. Now, I've heard students say, I couldn't help it, miss. All the paint just came out of the bottle. I couldn't help it. So to prevent that, you always want to tilt it on its side. You don't want to hold the paint like this and squeeze it like you're putting your favorite sauce on your favorite food. You got to be careful. So this is a good amount. I'm also going to get some black. All right, a little bit of black. And I'm also going to use some white paint. There we go. So this is a good amount of paint for you to have. Now I'm going to tilt this down so you have a good view of my hands so you can see exactly how you're supposed to mix. When you are mixing paints together, you always want to start with the lighter color or the weaker color, and you want to add a little bit of the stronger or darker color into it. You're not going to add the same amount because one paint is stronger than the other. Another thing to remember is to keep your paints clean. If I wanted to mix my white and my red, I don't want to put red in my white because now it's not white anymore. I might want to use pure white for something else. So what you do is, you guys can see my water cup, my rag right here, okay? So what you do is you take some of the lighter color and you scooch it over. Now remember, you want to keep your paints clean. So do not put this brush with white paint on it or any other color into a different color, right? I'm going to contaminate my red. So that's why I have my water cup here, right? And then you have to dry it out on your rag before you put it into the other color, right? And remember what I said. You don't need the same amount of the darker color because it's stronger than this lighter color. So I'm just going to take a little bit of red and mix it into the white. Now, if you need a lot of this color, you can use more paint to mix it, but remember, always dark into light. If you keep adding light into dark, you're going to have to add way more light paint to get the tint that you want, and then you'll wind up with like this whole palette will be full of that color, and you might not even need that much. I am also going to mix some black and red together. So not putting black into this red, I want to keep this red clean. So I scoop my red over. I have to rinse off my brush again. There's a lot of rinsing. And then just a little bit of black. Black is the strongest paint color. And that is all you need. Got a nice shade here. So let's talk brush types. There are 3 different types of brushes that I use in class. This one that I'm using to mix is called a square brush. As you can see, it's squared off. This one is a round brush. It's round. And then I call these little babies detail brushes. These you're only going to use at the very end of your painting to put your final touches on. The square brush is really good. Okay, let's pick up this paper. The square brush is really good for blocking in areas, especially if you wanted to do something geometric, right? This brush is really good because you have that flat edge. So you could block in shapes like this. I'm going to paint something with this round brush now. The round brush is also good for blocking in large areas, especially when it's this large. But you can paint into corners with this one, and you have a lot more freedom as far as the different ways you can turn this brush. This one, you really just got to go back and forth. And this one, you know, if you wanted to paint in a circle, a big circle, this one would be good. Your detail brush, you can do teeny tiny details with this tiny detail brush. So you have 3 different types of brushes that you can use. You might need all 3 of them for your first painting. It is important to pay attention to exactly what sizes you need for which areas you're painting. I'm going to show examples of a monochromatic painting assignment to show you the different stages of your painting. So stage 1 is pretty dark. So you can kind of see I've done all of my outlines first. You got to make sure your subject and background are done first. It's important that you always use pencil, never pen. The reason is, 1, if you make a mistake, you can erase it. Number 2, the ink in the pen will actually mix with your paint when you wet it. So it'll smear and make your painting very messy, and you will probably not be very happy about it. Second step is blocking in all of the different areas. I have not left any white space on my painting. If you want to include anything white, you need to paint it in white. And so you block everything in. Notice how I have not painted any details yet. And then stage 3 is adding in all of the details. You're outlining your subject and your background, adding some texture to my grass, and just overall making this look like a detailed finished painting. And don't forget to put your name on the front, because this is an official painting and people need to know that you did it and that you're awesome. Okay, let's talk cleanup. This beautiful device is a brush cleaner. The way that you use this is you pour soap on it, you move the brushes around on it while running it under the water, and you do that until all of the paint is on. It's important that you always use soap. Rinsing off your brushes is not going to clean them. It might look clean to you, but just remember how powerful that acrylic paint is, and it will stiffen the brush, and the brush will not be usable anymore. So you grab some soap. This used to say soap. I'll rewrite it. You pour your soap on the brush cleaner, and you get your brush and you move it back and forth a little bit, and then turn on the water, and then continue that motion back and forth. When you are storing your brushes, you always want to put them bristles up, never bristles down. If you put it bristles down, it will press on the bristles and the brush will become warped, and it will not be a good, clean, effective brush anymore. I'm going to wash this other brush now. I'm going to put some soap. Let's see all the paint that's coming off. Beautiful. Now, when you're washing my detail brushes, do not use this. This brush is so tiny that you don't need to use this board. In fact, it might even ruin this brush. So for the detail brushes, put a little bit of soap on your hands and just finesse this brush. It doesn't take very long, and then you rinse it off. I keep these in a special pouch. So if you can't find the pouch, it's yellow. Here we go. It's yellow with animal print on it. Let me know if you can't find it. I'll show you where it is. But you need to keep these in here. Don't put them with the other brushes because I really want to keep them safe. All right, cleaning your palette is the easiest thing in the world. You just pour the water out, you're done. Cleaning your palette. You do not have to use soap for this. You just hold it under the water. I have some old house brushes here, some old house paint brushes, and you just scoop the paint out while holding the palette under the running water. You do not have to dry these, you just put them back where you got them from. Now, I took the time to clean this. Your palette is going to look like this. Just because it looks like this doesn't mean you don't still have to clean it. There's a class coming in after you, and it's important that they have a palette that isn't covered in wet paint because they're going to reach in and grab it. They're going to get it all over their hands, and they have to clean it anyway in order to use it. So please clean up after yourselves. Remember, it's very important to clean up after yourself properly because these materials are everybody's materials, and it's important that everybody have a chance to use them. If you need more motivation, just a friendly reminder that you will not receive full credit on your assignment if you do not properly clean up your materials. So if I see you not using soap on your brushes or not cleaning your palette properly, I will deduct points from your project. So just don't do it. Okay, thanks for watching. There is now a test on what I just said, and you must pass it with 100% in order to start your first painting. I'm excited. Are you excited? Yeah, we're all so excited. Okay, thanks for watching.